Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. It turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it.
Hey folks, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Trump's own chief of staff just did what Democrats, media critics, and even parts of MAGA couldn't do from the outside. She exposed him from the inside. This clip isn't about some left-wing hit job. This is Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, speaking candidly to Vanity Fair and laying barely three brutal realities. One, Trump's alcoholic personality and total lack of boundaries. Two, a presidency run on impulse, ego, and chaos. And three, an Israel first agenda that's humiliating his own base. Key figures here are Donald Trump, Susie Wiles, J.D. Vance, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Trump's inner White House circle. And make no mistake, Trump is losing this one badly because the knives aren't coming from the left. They're coming from his own camp. As a reminder and favor, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's find the real truth.
There's actually some truth behind that, but what Vice President J.D. Vance was reacting to were comments made about him by President Trump's White House chief of staff. Her name is Susie Wiles, if you're unfamiliar with her. And apparently she granted Vanity Fair, Christopher Whipple specifically at Vanity Fair, access to her for months. And he did a series of 11 interviews with her. And in those interviews, she shared her surprisingly candid views on various members of the Trump administration. Now, before we give you the dirty details, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, this was stunning on a couple of grounds. So first of all, her admissions were amazing. And secondly, why? Why did she say this stuff? Because the last time this happened was during Trump's first term, right about the same time with Steve Bannon. And he got fired and never got let back in. So I need you to listen to Anna tell you all the facts, because what she said is so true of all the different players. Then we'll come back and analyze why she did it.
Now, right off the bat, I'll say that she did defend Trump in various parts of this lengthy interview. So for instance, she's very much on board with striking Venezuelan fishing boats, is regurgitating the lie that they're drug traffickers and that what Trump is doing is totally legal, which I disagree with personally. But let's get to some of the statements that were made. So James Blair, who is Wiles's 36-year-old deputy chief of staff, also spoke to Vanity Fair and said of Wiles that she doesn't raise her voice, but she likes being around junkyard dogs. Indeed, Wiles has seemed content to let her pit bulls, deputy chiefs of staff Miller, Blair, and Dan Scavino, run loose as she watches. And in fact, she weighs in on how she has no interest in controlling Trump. She views it as unethical to do so. She doesn't say unethical or use that word in particular, but her argument is, well, the American people voted him in, and so who am I to rein him in when he's, carrying out the policies that he believes he ran on. Now, of course, he's reneged on much of his campaign promises, but nonetheless, here's what she had to say about Trump. She doesn't say that Trump is an alcoholic, so I want to be clear about that, because Trump was asked to weigh in on her statement here, and he's like, I'm not an alcoholic. That's not what she's saying, but here's what she did say. Some clinical psychologist that knows 1 million times more than I do will dispute what I'm going to say. But high-functioning alcoholics, or alcoholics in general, their personalities are exaggerated when they drink. And so I'm a little bit of an expert in big personalities.
So let's start off with Susie Wiles and what Susie Wiles meant by the alcoholic personality. Now let's first start off at, he doesn't have a drinking problem. Trump has never drank. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do drugs. That's one of the biggest things he says about with his kids. But Susie Wiles never says Trump drinks. That's the spin Trump hides behind. What she actually says is far more damaging. What she says is Trump has an alcoholic's personality. And, talking to therapists, what they mean by that is they have an exaggerated ego. They don't have any boundaries. They have a belief he can do literally anything whatsoever, and they have zero impulse control. Now, let's look at this as this is devastating because it confirms that everyone sees, but his loyalists refuse to admit. Trump doesn't self-correct. He doesn't reflect. He doesn't restrain himself. That's absolutely obvious. He barrels forward, assuming consequences are for other people. He feels as though it never pertains to him, and we've seen that many times through the years. Now, when even his chief of staff admits this, he operates like someone who believes nothing applies to him. That's technically not a strategy. That's called instability. And that's one of those things we really have to address when it comes to Trump and his presidency. It's how many things have been calculated and how many things have just been impulse, kind of like the tariffs. But I don't think we'll know about that until, I would say, 3 more years or to the end of his term of the second term, because we never know if he'll have a third one.
Trump has an alcoholic's personality. He operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do, nothing, zero, nothing. And he certainly carries himself that way. And she does have experience with alcoholics. The piece goes into her past and how her father was an alcoholic, but just giving you some context there. And Wiles' relationship with Trump almost ended at the Miami Golf Club one night in the fall of 2016. She weighs in on that. And I thought this story, this anecdote was really interesting. So apparently he was incredibly salty about how he was performing in the polls in Florida specifically. And so he decided to berate her in front of everyone. And so she says of that experience, it was a horrific hour plus at midnight. And I don't think I've seen him that angry since. He was ranting and raving. I didn't know whether to argue back or whether to be stoic. What I really wanted to do was cry. I finally said, you know, Mr. Trump, if you want somebody to set their hair on fire and be crazy, I'm not your girl. But if you want to win this state, I am. It's your choice. And then she walked out.
So let's start off by talking about the Miami Golf Club story, which to me is really one of the most revealing parts of this entire script. So the story is this: Trump berates Wiles publicly at the golf club. Rants, he raves, he loses control completely. And she says she does something no bootlicker ever does, which is she walked out. That moment exposes Trump's psychological well-being right there. He bullies people he thinks won't leave. He respects people who show they don't need him. And of course, he only backs down when power is challenged. Trump didn't apologize because he learned something. He backed off because his dominance play kind of failed. This is not leadership. This is a playground behavior by a 4th grader in a $400 million office. You explain that one to your kids.
She walked out and Trump allegedly turned on a dime. Lo and behold, he called me every day. Wiles never looked back. Trump carried Florida. So I thought that was really interesting. I think Trump, like many people, tends to react favorably to the individual he just berated if they're willing to walk away and say, you know what, forget it. He doesn't like people walking out on him. So I think that's what happened there. But what are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, so that's a power play, and Trump is a guy, if you bow down to him, he doesn't respect you. He's total lizard brain, right? And so if you stand up to him, but without insulting him, then he respects you. And that's what Susie Wiles did, and that's how she got power. And I respect Susie Wiles. I think she's a smart strategist, but I am perplexed as to why she would tell all this to a reporter. In terms of the alcoholic personality, 100%. It doesn't mean he's an alcoholic. He doesn't drink at all. But does he think he can do anything he wants? Of course. I mean, look at what he's done his whole life. And so if you can't see that, you're really kind of blinded by your partisan bias. If you can't see that Trump has no boundaries at all, it's kind of like the Democrats who couldn't see that Joe Biden was old.
That's exactly right. That's absolutely right. In fact, let's talk a little bit about where Wiles clearly has disagreements with Trump. And to be sure, she does have disagreements, particularly when it comes to his tariffs policy, which was announced on so-called Liberation Day. So she said of that whole situation, so much thinking out loud is what I would call it, meaning the press conference for Liberation Day, where Trump is announcing the tariffs. There was a huge disagreement over whether tariffs were a good idea. And apparently she recruited Vice President J.D. Vance to try to like reel or rein Trump in when it came to these tariffs. She wanted him to tap the brakes. So there are some instances in which Wiles is willing to try to rein in Trump. But we told Donald Trump, hey, let's not talk about tariffs today. Let's wait until we have the team in complete unity and then we'll do it. But clearly that didn't work, and Trump moved forward with the Liberation Day tariffs, the so-called reciprocal tariffs from anywhere 10% to 100%, which triggered panic in the bond market and sell-off of stocks. Wiles believed a middle ground on tariffs would ultimately succeed, she said, but it's been more painful than I expected.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
So we're about to move on and talk a little bit about how she feels about the Trump administration's handling of the Epstein files and Israel. But before we do, any thoughts on what she had to say about the tariffs policy, Cenk?
Yeah, so she's basically proving us right on every single thing we told you. Like the tariff policy not supported by any rational person because he's made it so extreme. We told you, like, if he did moderate tariffs like he did in the first term and he did them reciprocal and not these extreme tariffs, they would actually have some chance of working. But if you go ballistic like this, then it'll really rock the markets and it'll have no chance of working. Turns out his own chief of staff agreed with us 100%. And they all tried to rein him in, and they can't rein him in because he's a loose cannon.
Now let's talk about something that everybody in the US can pretty much agree on, except for Donald J. Trump. Now, behind closed doors, Trump's entire staff and every US citizen or person that lives in the United States agrees on one thing. The tariff policy he came up with was reckless, extreme, and economically illiterate. Susie Wiles tried to delay it. She wanted to unify it first, and she recruited J.D. Vance to slow Trump down. And I bet you can guess what Trump did. Yeah, right. He completely ignored them all. The result of this ignorance, bond market panic, stock sell-offs, and global uncertainty. If anything, this is what it proves is simple and damning. Trump doesn't listen, he doesn't understand economics, and he doesn't care who gets burned. His staff knows it, they know it in the first term, and they know it now. So tell me, why can't Trump get through his head?
He's out of control. And does he understand the economic impact of tariffs? No. He barely understands economics at all. Like, if you're a Trump supporter, you're a la-la land on that and you think, oh, no way, he went to war. I mean, he's a spoiled little brat. He hides his grades because he had no chance of getting into a good school. He never studied there. His grades were, I'm sure, abysmal. That's why he's hiding him. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know the basics of economics. But what's interesting, guys, is you're seeing here in an honest, behind the scenes conversation, his entire staff agrees with us. And same thing happened in the first term, because they all think that, oh no, he's probably an act. And we get in there and he's gonna be strategic and stuff.
No,
it's not an act. I mean, I'll give Trump that. He's not acting. He really is that crazy and clueless.
That's exactly right. So let's talk a little bit about her view on the Trump administration's handling of the Epstein files and the ongoing genocide in Gaza carried out by Israel, of course. So she does see the failure to release the Epstein files as a huge debacle and a threat, a political threat to President Donald Trump, which I totally agree with. I mean, when you have members of your cabinet who spent years talking about how the Epstein files need to be released, when you have Trump on the record saying that he would release the Epstein files and then reneging as soon as he's elected and engaging in an obvious cover-up, yeah, that's gonna be a political liability, okay? So it doesn't take a genius to realize that. She does do the thing that a lot of Republican strategists love to do, which is place all the blame on Pam Bondi. And to be fair, Pam Bondi does deserve some of the blame because of the fact that she engaged in that ridiculous stunt with the binders. So she again trashed Pam Bondi's binder stunt. Now, when it comes to Israel specifically, some in the administration absolutely know that Trump is making all sorts of unpopular decisions. So a senior White House source told Vanity Fair that many see Trump as a, well, they didn't use this word, this is my word because I think it's an accurate way to describe it. But many see Trump as a cuck to Benjamin Netanyahu because he absolutely is. So here's what the senior White House official said. If you dive deeply into the internet, you'll find things that say, well, why don't we just put Bibi at the Resolute desk? Essentially saying, well, a foreign leader is the one who's calling the shots. So why don't we just have him in the Oval Office? And to be fair, Trump has had him in the Oval Office 5 or 6 times since the beginning of his second term, which is insane, okay? In early October, Trump traveled to Israel to announce that his envoys had brokered a peace deal. We know that's not true, but he calls it a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. Now, during this triumphant appearance at Israel's Knesset, Trump praised Netanyahu and the Israeli armed forces with no mention of the Palestinian civilian casualties. And here's what Christopher Whipple reported about it. Trump had previously lauded Bibi's efforts in another action by calling him a war hero, a remark partially aimed at Israelis. Talking about it then, Wiles winced. I'm not sure he fully realizes, she said, that there's an audience here that doesn't love it. And I love to hear that. What do you think, Cenk?
I get blown away by the fact that she's saying exactly what we've been saying on air. And I feel good that from day one, I was like, Susie Wiles is very strategic. Remember, I don't agree with her policies, of course, right? But we told you that during the campaign. I said, watch out, she's smart, right? And she's formidable. And the walkout move that she did to Trump shows me exactly how smart and strategic she is. So again, none of that explains her telling this to a reporter, which I'm again stunned by. I do have one theory on it we'll get back to in a second. But in terms of Trump looking like a cuck, it's really important that she gets that information to Trump because he won't like it. And the problem is Trump is the exact kind of idiot who would shoot the messenger, right? So you never shoot the messenger, otherwise you'll never get a message. You'll never know what's happening on the ground, what's happening in the field. It's a terrible idea, but Trump will probably get mad at the person who tells him. But yeah, his half his base thinks he's kind of getting walked around on a dog leash by Netanyahu, and it's humiliating.
Yes, and it's humiliating for us. It's humiliating for, look, yeah, of course it's humiliating for Trump, but who cares? He's the one who's made the decision to engage in the cuckoldery, right? But not us, not the American people. We want to be led by the American leader, and that's not what's happening here. It's embarrassing to watch the US president get dog walked by a foreign leader. It doesn't matter who the foreign leader is, by the way. It's just that Israel is treated as, I don't know, above everything else that exists in life, and it's insane.
And I've been waiting for this. Now comes the political nuclear bomb. Wiles admits the Epstein files cover-up is a massive liability. Trump reneges on explicit promises. The blame shifting to Pam Bondi is transparent damage control. But the real rupture is Israel, of course. Inside Trump's White House, officials openly acknowledge Trump looks subservient to Netanyahu. His base sees it. The optics are humiliating. 5 or 6 Oval Office visits, public praise for Israeli military actions, and zero, unfortunately zero, acknowledgement or for Palestine civilian deaths. That's when MAGA quietly becomes America first without Trump. And that right there terrifies his strategists.
Yeah, I give them a little bit of credit because I don't think the people in the Biden White House knew how much Biden was hated because of how he was a dog to Israel. Like, I don't think they ever got Biden that message, and Biden might have gotten even angrier than Trump at that message. And I think that the Democrats in the White House were maybe the most clueless people in the country. But here's Susie Wiles, chief of staff to Trump, and she gets it. She's like, yeah, this is humiliating. And Anna, I've now seen all over the internet people saying, I'm not MAGA anymore, I'm America first. And they're making that distinction because they're saying Trump is MAGA and Trump is not America first anymore. He's Israel first. And so they're abandoning MAGA because of that. I mean, again, she's right strategically. That could be a huge problem for them politically. But once you get into Washington, you get this Israel mind virus. Must serve Israel at all costs. Even if it ruins your reputation, it ruins your career, and it costs you the election. It costs the Democrats the election.
Susie Wiles wins this exchange without even trying to. She doesn't rant, she doesn't scream, she just tells the truth, and the truth annihilates Trump's image. This isn't a Democratic takedown. This isn't a media ambush. This is Trump's chief of staff, the one he hired, admitting the emperor has no clothes, no discipline, no boundaries, no economic competence, no America first credibility left. And when your own chief of staff says it out loud, the conspiracy isn't that Trump is being attacked. The conspiracy is how long people pretend not to notice. Thank you for watching and listening to our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We'll talk with you the next time we need to uncover the real truth.